Welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us for the first SMPS Meet the BD Faculty webinar. This is Natasha Musavi with the SMPS headquarters staff. Before we begin, I have a few housekeeping items to cover. On the right side of your screen, you will see the GoToWebinar sidebar. You can click on the orange arrow to expand or minimize the side panel. There will be time for live Q&A during this program. Please type your questions into the chat box and then click the send button to submit. Our first workshop kicks off in Seattle on March 14th. Then we travel to Nashville on March 28th, Alexandria, Virginia at the SMPS headquarters office on April 11th, and then Orange County, California on May 16th, Kansas City, Missouri on June 6th, and of course, we'll be presenting at Build Business in Indianapolis on July 12th. Today's program is being recorded and we post it in the SMPS YouTube page at youtube.com/SMPSnational. It is now my pleasure to introduce our faculty for the Business Development for the AEC Industries Workshop. Unfortunately, Lori Buckman and Tony Steinhardt will not be able to join us today. I'd like to ask the faculty to give a brief overview of their background, starting with Gil Brindley. Gil, welcome to the program, and the audience is yours.
Thanks, Natasha. I'm Gil Brindley. I started my career as a civil engineer. I'm a licensed professional engineer. I've got 35 years of experience in the AEC environment, and the last 17 have been in business development and marketing and general management. I joined H2M Architects Engineers about 4.5 years ago as the Director of Marketing and held that position for 3 years. H2M is a 350-person integrated architect engineer headquartered on Long Island, New York. Then about 18 months ago, I moved into New York City to start up and run H2M's new office here. I'm responsible for operations, business development, and administration for this office, and a part of the senior leadership for the firm. I was part of the last 2 versions of the Basics of Business Development class in both developing and as faculty. I've been part of the faculty since 2004 and can't really remember how many classes I've taught. It's been a pleasure to work with this fine group of people that you're going to hear from next. Each one is different and has a great deal to offer to all the attendees.
Thank you, Gil. Mike, can I go ahead and turn it over to you?
Sure. Thank you, Natasha. Good afternoon, everybody. This is Michael Buell calling from beautiful Salt Lake City, Utah. I have been in the industry for 25 years. The gray hair shows. I have worked with general contractors, with architects, with engineers, in the last 3+ years with a design-build mechanical subcontractor. It's one of the largest in the country. So I have seen all sides of this crazy industry. With that experience, I understand how all disciplines need to react together to pursue work and win work together. And I look forward to sharing some of the key takeaways from this BDI program that actually Gil and you and I kicked off this generation in February 2006 in Boston, and have done quite a few since. But look forward to sharing the most primary takeaways from this program in just a few minutes.
Thank you, Mike. Karen, I'll turn it over to you.
Hi, I'm Karen Courtney, coming today from Indianapolis, the middle of the country and site of 2017 Build Business. I'm an architect by training and a marketer by passion. I've been working in the AEC industry for over 30 years and done everything from business development to branding with firms that range in size from 40 to 1,400. I've seen it all, both on the marketing and the business development side, so I've played those roles sometimes simultaneously, so it can help address questions that interact between the two. Currently, I am the Chief Marketing Officer for Fanning Howey, a national multi-office AE firm with a focus on designing 21st century learning environments. I'm responsible for strategic planning, new business strategy, marketing communications, and market planning. I was one of the founders of the SMPS Business Development Institute, the offerers of this class, when I served as National SMPS President in 2005. And I've been a part of the teaching faculty since 2007. My favorite parts of the class to teach are strategic planning and capture planning.
Thank you, Karen. Kate, I'll turn it over to you.
Well, thank you. Excuse me. I'm Kate Malini, and I'm calling in from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I've been working in the AEC industry for a little over 15 years, and I've been a marketing coordinator, a BD manager, a director of marketing, and a director of business development for firms ranging in size from 65 to 1,500. And I've worked for engineers, owners, reps, and architects. Right now, I'm the business developer for HGA Architects and Engineers, which is a national multi-office AE firm. And I support arts, community, education sectors for our firm in the Great Lakes region. I'm responsible for leading business planning, client engagement programs, project pursuits, and market planning, along with coaching our internal teams of seller doers and business development best practices. And I've been involved as a faculty member since 2013. I helped to do an update to the program by working with Scott Butcher to provide some social selling best practices, and previously served on the Business Development Institute Committee. I was an attendee of this class in 2 different formats and had the opportunity to learn from Karen Courtney and Mike Buell, which I thought was amazing. So both as an attendee and now as a faculty member, I just think it's an amazing class. I was previously president of SMPS Chicago, but now I'm part of SMPS Wisconsin. And like Karen, I love strategic planning and capture planning, but my favorite part of the class is that I learn something new every time I teach.
Fantastic. Thank you, Kate. Jason, welcome to the program.
Yeah, thank you. Good afternoon from Kansas City. This is Jason Robertson. I'm the Director of Business Development with a company called CRB, who makes Kansas City their home headquarters with 15 offices here in the U.S. as well as one in Europe. I currently focus on the food, nutraceutical, consumer products type of the business, and travel throughout the country developing those relationships with many of the products that you see in a grocery store. Started my career in industrial electrical construction in ethanol, biodiesel, and chemicals, as well as food and beverage, and then actually spent some time as a large CM. So the perspective from selling everything from architecture through consulting and everything in between has been a unique perspective and has prematurely graded me at a young age. But I've spent 20 years in the industry and joined this faculty in 2013 and joined SMPS in 1998. So I'm glad to be with the group and to share some perspectives here from the faculty members today.
Thank you very much, everyone. We clearly have a wealth of information here and lots of different perspectives. All right, so over the years teaching this workshop and interacting with past attendees, I'd like to ask you, what would you say some of the most key takeaways as to why folks should be attending? Gil, I'll go ahead and start. We can start with you.
Sure. Thanks, Natasha. I thought about this, and my biggest takeaway really is the practicality of the course. I'm an engineer. I'm a solutions guy, and I like to fix things. So that's really my goal as an instructor, is to give you some tools that you can take home and bring back to your firm right away. I want attendees to bring their struggles, their challenges, their successes, and failures to the class so that we can find ways to help them. We really aim to find practical solutions that you can implement right away. We cover strategic planning and goal development for your firm, whether that's in business development or marketing or otherwise, and discuss real-world problems that your firm is having and work through those strategies and tactics that can be put into practice when you get back to the office. We really want this to be a hands-on approach that helps you make productive changes to your marketing and business development. The goal for us is to make this class so full of value that your firm gets an excellent return on its investment.
Absolutely. Thank you, Gil. Mike, I'll turn it over to you.
Sure, thank you. You know, we could really spend hours talking about takeaways from this class, and but if I had to pin one down, and that is attendees gaining the understanding of business development's #1 success criteria and how to impact that the most. And that success criteria for business development is not number of leads, it's not number of contacts, it's not necessarily sales. It's impacting your hit rate. It's impacting those projects that you decide to pursue and invest in that pursuit. And what is your hit rate? How many of those do you win? And if you have a good business development team, good business development culture and effort, that hit rate goes up. There are plenty of firms out there throughout the country that are very reactionary. and they just look at Dodge reports or look at other elements on the internet and just look for RFPs and respond to RFPs. And hopefully everybody in this call knows if you just respond to RFPs, your hit rate is rarely going to get over 15%. And that is a lot of wasted time, a lot of wasted resources. So of all the different categories we discuss throughout the day, we're going to focus on how you can impact the hit rate and the bottom line of your firm. And it starts with that firm culture. You want to either have or develop or take part in a firm that their culture is about the people, and it's about understanding that trust and likability is just as, if not more important than expertise to win over a client and gain that client loyalty that you really want to gain over the years. People talk about client satisfaction. I think that's kind of weak. You want client loyalty. You want those clients, your best, your top 10, 20, 50 clients want to work with you as much as possible. I like to focus a lot on how to actually differentiate. That is one of the toughest things out there for us to do. When you get the question, what makes your firm different, why you? Most people don't know how to answer that. I promise you with all of our classes, and in particular the ones that I'm involved in, you will know how to differentiate your firm versus all your competition every day, and it will be genuine, and it'll be accurate. And then we'll focus in the afternoon of these sessions on how to win presentations. That's your last bastion of hope to win new projects, and the whole process of the kind of information and the kind of communication you want to gain before you walk in that door, and how to deliver an interview or a presentation that really wins over the room. It's not about content, folks. It's not about content. It's about connection. And when you're developing those connections with your clients and you're impacting your hit rate, you are being a leader in your firm, a leader in the industry, no matter what your time and tenure. Because when it comes right down to it, for our firms to keep our doors open, you have to win work, you have to execute work, and then you get paid for work, and that is the only order it can happen. Let's focus on how you can help your firm win work.
That is very important. Thank you, Mike. Karen, what would you say are some of the key takeaways?
Well, over the last 10 years, one of the things that past participants have shared with me that they really value as a takeaway is that our program is rooted in both theory and experience. Now, why is that? This comes from having our entire faculty well-versed in BD, both from their years of experience, but as well as these are very successful practitioners who are doing business development for their firms day in and day out. We all are doing the very job that we're here to help you get better at. So these are not instructors who are also consultants and will be trying to sell you something at the end. We are living in your world, and we're bringing you the best practices from some of the most successful SMPS member firms in the country. In addition to that, we do bring you the theory behind the business development concepts. And as a side benefit, another thing our past attendees value is by being there, you will gain a senior friend or a mentor in the industry as one of the faculty, because many of us stay in contact with the attendees over the years, and we make ourselves available to help them when issues come up that they might not have encountered before, or they feel uncomfortable asking a peer or a local colleague. In fact, 3 of us, Gil, Tony, and myself, serve on a board of advisors right now for one of the past attendees' firm, and this is an idea that came out of attending this very class.
Thank you, Karen. Very useful. Kate, I'll go ahead and turn it over to you. What are you thinking about the key takeaways?
Thanks. Well, like everyone said, there's so many, but one thing I just wanted to mention is something attendees have told me, that after attending this workshop, aside from the tools, knowledge, real-world examples, they have the confidence to go back. You can't really teach that. You have to experience it. But they have the confidence to go back to their firm and do something different in their own approach, suggest something different in a process or tool or mechanism in their firm. You know, that attending the class gave them all those resources to go forward and adapt or customize something for themselves or their firm that works, and that they had the backup of saying these real-world practitioners, people that have been extremely successful and firms that have been successful, have tried this and it works. I think attending the class makes you better prepared for the evolving role of business developer as coach. And I think it gives you a sense of what it means to be a business development leader. So how can you go back to your firm and implement some of these strategies or theories to really set yourself apart as a business development leader in your firm, somebody who really gets it and can help the firm move forward.
Absolutely. And last but not least, Jason, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, well, it's been mentioned a little bit, but just to echo it, this whole concept of benchmarking and comparing best practices. As an industry, we're design and builders, so in many times that I've experienced, and I'm sure those that are listeners today, they've said inside their four walls, well, let's go build that CRM tool, let's go build that go, no-go process, and they'll spend so many hours and, you know, back and forth bantering about what that should look like. I think what I've heard from some participants as recent as the most recent one that I did in Portland last fall was this whole sense of, well, here's what some best-in-class firms are doing around the go-no-go process, and how do we compare it? Some might laugh, but I've seen multiple pages of go-no-goes, and I think it's good to be able to bring these best practices back to the firm and debunk the myth, so to speak, as to we have to over-engineer some of our systems and processes. And so getting in a room, being able to meet some other folks, maybe even meet a potential mentor or one of us as presenters that could help after the event is something very valuable, and we'd love to, you know, be a resource for those that would attend a class.
Absolutely. Thank you. So after hearing about all those amazing takeaways and resources, how would you say that this workshop will help participants kind of use this and implement the BD practices and culture at their firm? Gil, we'll go ahead and start back over with you again.
Sure, thanks, Natasha. I think it really helps from a leadership perspective. We cover the entire breadth of marketing and business development. We talk about why it's important to build that BD culture in your firm, and we encourage the participants to take on a leadership role and take the bull by the horns and make things happen for their firm. You don't really have to wait for somebody to develop a BD plan or a marketing plan. If your firm doesn't have one, that's okay. We will help you figure out how to develop your own. You start to develop it, you review it with your principal or your shareholders or your boss, and then you start implementing it. And whether you're new to business development and marketing or a seasoned veteran, the feedback that we've gotten is that everyone gets something really useful out of the class and something that can help them with their business development practices and their culture going forward.
Absolutely. Mike?
Yeah, you know, this presentation, well, this workshop has a lot of slides. In fact, I think there's 85,000 slides to this thing during the day. That might be an exaggeration, but not much. But I'll tell you what, we've all seen the evaluations for years, and what attendees take away the most, not getting in takeaways, but how you can really implement and personalize the information shared with your firm when you go back is the stories and the anecdotes and the success stories and the lessons learned that the instructors share all day long, in addition to the very poignant exercises that we execute all day long. It's not the material. It's almost like an interview. It's not the content material on the slide. It's the stories and the connections that are shared throughout the day. So how you can really implement what's discussed is we're going to get our hands dirty throughout the day with exercises. We're going to relate these exercises to your lives, your day-to-day lives, because, folks, we have all sat in your seat. Whatever seat you're sitting in right now, we've all been there. So that's going to be a lot of what you're going to take from the day and bring back to your firm that next week.
Very good points. Thank you, Mike. Karen?
Well, when you ask what participants will be able to do and implement when they get back home, I think one of the key components to business development success comes from using capture planning, both to track project intelligence and sales progress, as well as to build a successful win strategy. And I mentioned earlier that that's one of my favorite topics to teach. So in the class, I'll explain the origins of capture planning and why it's applicable to high capital complex sales with long lead times, which is exactly what most of us in the AEC industry face in pursuing projects. And all of us will then walk you through a sample sample capture plan and show you how the elements combine to form strategy so that you're ready to respond to a proposal or an interview opportunity with a winning strategy. And we will also give you a sample capture plan and with a template so that you will have instructions and a tool to go back and use when you come back to your office. So you can bring this back and immediately apply something that you've learned to your BD pursuits and also use it to teach others in your firm as well. From personal experience, I use this very template every day at Fanning Howe, and it's helped make our efforts more strategic and allowed us to win more work.
Absolutely, Karen. Thank you. Kate.
So one of the most engaging parts of the workshop, I believe, is the strategic planning and business development planning and marketing planning section. It's meaty. There's a lot there. Oftentimes it's the reason why we have to rush another the following section to catch up on time. But it really lays out the hierarchy of planning and how each component supports each other. And I think that attendees will learn how to craft a process that includes the right participants, understand their own importance in that process, and really look at how they can create meaningful, actionable planning documents. And not just capture plans like for a pursuit, but really the business strategy of the firm and how business development planning and marketing planning support that. We'll take you through actual exercises of creating your own SMART goals, which are specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time sensitive. Create your own SMART goals with strategies and tactics to support them. And it gives you a head start when you get back to the office.
Very good points. Thank you, Kate. And Jason?
Yeah, so I'll speak to the seller-doer environment. Perhaps some on the call today have an active seller-doer strategy inside their firm where the technical folks are looked upon to deliver a fair amount of the backlog. And so in my firm, that's about 1,100 across the country, I find myself every day interacting with seller-doers and how to coach and mentor the sales skills on really the theory of people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. In our industry, to be really critical, we find ourselves trained in school to come in as problem solvers, and sometimes kind of like a husband and wife scenario, sometimes you want to solve the problem versus just listening. And in my case, that took quite a few years to realize, and so I'm a slow learner. But those are some things that we'll spend some time. So if you do have that strategy in place, how do you go about coaching and mentoring and helping folks understand ways in which you can get better depth and breadth in those relationships that both are in the prospect side of things as well as the existing key and core clients or key accounts, whatever you might label them as.
Absolutely. All very good and interesting points here. All right, so let's go ahead and open it up to the audience for some questions for the faculty. Check and see. We do have a couple questions ready to go. We have a great audience today. All right, we'll go ahead and take our first question. We'll dive right in. Does this class cover the interface between marketing and BD? Karen, would you want to tackle this question?
Weigh in on that one, sure. Yes, one of the important distinctions to understand is the difference between marketing and business development. And we cover that very early in the class because most of the focus of our class is on business development. But we want people to understand the difference and how the two interact and mutually support each other in winning work for our firms. So you'll come away with a working definition, and you will also have a very clear visual image in mind every time you hesitate to wonder what to call things. And more importantly, you'll be able to go back to your firms and educate them because there's a tendency to want to call everything marketing when in truth a lot of those activities are business development. So yes, we will start out with very clear definitions and ways of differentiating the two, and also talk about who's involved and what some of the major responsibilities are for each of those two large categories.
Sounds great. Thank you. Let's go ahead and take our next question. All right. The next question is social media strategy and execution covered?
I can answer that because we developed some additional content for this session. This is Kate speaking, by the way. We developed some additional content called, around the idea of social selling. I wouldn't say that what a marketing director would do in terms of a social media strategy is communicated per se, because I think that's a whole other class. However, social media is a tool for business development without a doubt. It can be a tool for communicating your unique value proposition. It's a tool for better engagement with your clients. We know from the foundation research that clients are more sophisticated, and they're doing the research on consulting firms before we've ever picked up the phone or tried to get a meeting with them. They've learned something about us. So having a presence in social media and having conversations through social media are definitely important. We've seen it help firms expand their brand or reputation. But what we want to talk about in the business development side of that is how do we turn those conversations into leads or into meaningful reputation building exercises. So we'll definitely address social selling in the class.
Sounds great. Thank you, Kate. All right, I know we touched on this a little bit earlier, but the next question is there any follow-up after the class? I know the answer is yes, but Jason, did you want to dive a little bit more into that question?
Oh, sure. So early on in my career, I was asked by the CEO of the company 3 questions. Who's your mentor? Who are you mentoring? And are you training your replacement as you move up? And so as you think about this follow-up after an event like this, I welcome the opportunity to spend time with some of the participants that have questions afterwards that they may not have been comfortable asking because maybe a local competitor was in the room. But since some of the sessions I've done, I've actually helped look at some proposals and do some thoughts around content and infographics. And so I welcome opportunities to be a mentor, to be a coach, to share my experiences, and I think that's where you get a little bit of additional, benefit from this class, and would love to help in any way, and I know the rest of us on this call as well. So we definitely would love to extend that offer if folks have things on their mind afterwards, and to stay in touch.
Yeah, and Jason, I'll just tag on to that. We have found that attendees will immediately connect with each other through social media, LinkedIn, create little networks of their own, just expanding their network and their peer-to-peer network, and have started to make lifelong friends because they met in this class.
That is absolutely true. Thank you, Kate. All right, and here's another question I know we do get a ton of as well. So I'm a senior business developer. Will this workshop be worthwhile for me to attend?
I'll take that on, Natasha. Well, if you're a senior business developer, marketer, and if your hit rate of your major pursuits throughout the year are 75% or higher, and you effortlessly and successfully break into new markets whenever you want to, and your entire technical staff are 100% client-focused and part of the BD culture, then you don't need this course. And if you are in that category, and then you can probably be one of the faculty. I have not met anybody yet, though, that meet those 3 criteria on a regular basis. It's both internal and external. And sometimes if you've been doing this long enough, you can get stale. You're doing the same old thing, you're talking to the same old people, and you find yourself in a rut being reactionary, fighting against everything you've done for many, many years, because you've got your network, you've got your primary clients. They'll call when they have something for you. So even if you're getting a little stale, this is a fantastic 8 hours of reminders of things maybe you knew but you forgot. And again, if we can help impact your hit rate and maybe pursuits into new markets, and getting your project managers and your project architects and your project executives and your lead designers focused more on the audience and not as much on themselves, then I think it will be certainly a very valuable day for you.
Sounds great. Thank you, Mike. All right, we have another question from our audience. It's kind of specific, but we can absolutely dive into this. Will different strategies between business development with core customers, for example, industrial facilities versus engineering firms, be discussed, and perhaps from an industrial contractor perspective?
This is Gil. I can address that in a general sense. I mean, that's not specifically something that we have on the agenda, but we certainly could, talk about it from our own personal experience and how we've approached different markets. And if a participant or attendee has some more specific information on what they want, if we think it's relevant for the whole class to hear that, we would definitely cover it. And if we couldn't adequately address it during the class, we would be happy to take that offline, either during a break or during lunch or after the class is over.
Absolutely.
I don't know if any of my peers here have another perspective on that.
I can add into that, because I think, this is Kate, I think we talk a lot about different approaches, and there's a couple different sections where what's a strong approach. So will we talk about strategy to market entry? Yes. Will we tell you everything you need to know about your industrial customer? Probably not, but we'll have the strategy and approach and the things that you need to do to help you gain entry into a market or strengthen a market. That's what the class is really about. It's about the skills and approach and thinking and strategy behind something like that. We won't dive into healthcare and industrial and higher ed, but we will use those as examples from the instructors and the participants' own experience to give you a lot of color and flavor and knowledge from what everyone's already seeing or experiencing in the market. Does that sound right to others?
Yep, I like that.
Absolutely. We kind of have a part two on this question as well. So the person wrote in choosing which date to attend, is it better for a construction industry member to attend? So I know you kind of talk about, you can kind of customize it, but is there a particular program that you would say was or a city that would be better for maybe someone from the construction industry?
Well, I can address that just from my perspective. I've worked in all categories. Construction, architecture, engineering, subcontracting. So the message is the same no matter what type of firm you're representing. The material and the discussions and the lessons learned are all related. So I'm not sure. There's a great cross-section in this faculty, so that would be probably hard to pinpoint.
I've also, this is Gil, I've got experience in the construction field, having worked for a contractor CM for 10 years. So many of our instructors have that experience from the contractor side of the house. So I don't think you're going to go wrong with any of us. Although the one in Alexandria will probably be the best.
No bias there. No, not at all.
Shameless plug.
Well, and to build on that, I think there's an opportunity to learn from others around the region. So, whether you attend in maybe your backyard or you join somewhere else, but from a curriculum perspective, it's the same, and we kind of tailor it based on what we have sitting around the tables. So that's another angle and perspective.
Yeah, and let me just add, the very beginning of the class, I think it's important to know that all the instructors start after introductions and things and housekeeping. We ask the attendees, what do you want to walk out of here with? And by the time we end the class, we go through that list again and we say, did we do it? So we're really focused on what it is you're there to learn and how we can tailor the content in the 85,000 slides that Mike alluded to make sure that you're getting what you expect out of the class.
That's a very good point. Thank you, Kate. All right, so it looks like we're all caught up on our questions. With that, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up the program. Please join us for our next Meet the R2C faculty on March 28th at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. And Build Business 2017 will be in Indianapolis this year. Reminder to register by March 3rd to take advantage of the early bird registration rates. On behalf of SMPS, thank you to our esteemed faculty and all of today's participants. Much appreciated. The program has ended, and you may now disconnect.